Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jedi Knights, the official Star Wars podcast of JoyClicks. This is episode 41. I'm your host, Christian Buckley. Joining me, as always, is my Chewie, Mike Connors.
How's it going? It's a beautiful day to be here talking about Star Wars with my Han Solo,
Hey.
Christian Buckley.
You know, it feels good to get the reverse of it. You know?
Yeah, I feel like that's the first time I've ever done that.
I think maybe towards the beginning you might have done it, but, it's just like reaffirmation. It's good. You know?
Yeah, no, it is good. It's what I can do because I can't do the Chewie voice.
Hey, you know what? I'll take that. If that's our medium, if that's what we get for your Chewie introduction, I'll take that happily.
That's my love. That's my love language.
Absolutely. How you doing, Mike? You do any Star Wars stuff recently?
Have I done any Star Wars stuff recently? Well, I finished a book that we are reviewing for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, that's about it. Other than what we do for the show,
Yeah.
no, nothing extra.
Mm-hmm.
This week, at least.
Nice.
What about you?
Pretty much same old, going through Rebels, reading more of Alphabet Squadron. Review of that is going to be 2 episodes from now. And yeah, just the regular keeping tabs. There's some rumblings in the Force that we're going to talk about this week. But before we...
Oh yeah, it's rumor central on Jedi Knights today.
Absolutely. Before we get to any of that, though, we are going to kick off the show the way we've been doing, with educating ourselves and each other through the Jedi Archives.
Yes,
Last week,
yes.
I think I went first. So, Mike, you kick us off. What Wikipedia factoid are you pulling today?
So today I have chosen the one and only Christian. I'm sure you're familiar. Lady Proxima.
Ooh, okay.
So if you pull up the old Wikipedia page for Lady Proxima, you just get a great, detailed, really ugly picture of her.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, Lady Proxima. I just called her ugly. But anyways, she's a Grindelid female crime boss who operated out of a lair on Corellia during the Imperial era and First Order Resistance War. She was a leader of the White Worms, a group that took in young Corellians, their children, and gave them food and shelter in exchange for their participation in criminal activities on Proxima's behalf, like Han and Kira. So yeah, she's really tall. She's like a weird. I don't even know what to describe her. Like a millipede.
Kinda. I don't know what it is with certain Star Wars aliens being just bugs. Like.
Yeah, true. I mean, it looks like maybe not a millipede, but a centipede. Yeah, kind of crazy looking, but a weird character nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say her scene in Solo made me uncomfortable first time.
Definitely.
I feel like anytime the Clone Wars arc where Ahsoka and I'm blanking on her name, but the apprentice to Luminara, when the two of them were buried underground, and then there was like the clones, the infection, and then there was like that weird sort of Geonosian queen or whatever. Same vibes as that scene in Solo with Proxima.
One of my favorite scenes in Solo, and it's just because I think it's so funny,
Mm-hmm.
is when Han Solo like pretends the rock is the thermal detonator.
Yeah, that's good.
And Proxima's like, it's a rock.
Yeah, that is some Han stuff. That is good. I love that.
Definitely some Han stuff. You know what's really bothering me though?
What?
I can't remember who is Luminara's apprentice.
It begins with a B, I think.
Oh, it's Barris.
Barris, okay. Thank you.
Anyways, what is your Wikipedia article today?
So, mine isn't necessarily a deep cut, but it is an interesting and fun one nonetheless. Max Rebo.
Nice.
Max Rebo
That's a good one.
is a Ortolan from Orto, and he's a popular musician who led the Max Rebo band. He played the red ball jet organ, which he played with his feet, and he performed for a bunch of sleazy crime lords, including one Jabba the Hutt. And fun fact, his identity was once mistaken because his brother being Azul Fantel, I believe, stole on Jabba's turf, and he threatened to send them into the Sarlacc pit, but I guess it worked out.
I guess it worked out because he ended up performing for them.
Yeah, maybe it's like a, hey, you stole from me, so now you're my personal musician, Max Rebo, of the famous Max Rebo band.
Right.
You know, maybe that's how it worked out.
Very true. Actually, interesting. I was sort of looking through the Wikipedia article here. It says that he traveled aboard Jabba's sail barge to the Great Pit of Carkoon after Han Solo was freed from carbonite, meaning he was on the sail barge when it exploded, or else he got off somehow. But I don't see how.
Damn. Well, I was not prepared to mourn Max Rebo today because that is new info to me.
That was new info to me too. I'm sorry that it took a dark turn.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe if Boba Fett survived, maybe Max Rebo can too.
Well, I mean, I think maybe Max Rebo died from
the fiery explosion.
Some sort of fiery blast. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So
that's what I want next. I want a Disney Plus TV show about Max Rebo.
I'd take it. I would take it.
Post Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, if we want to explore like the world of performers in Star Wars, that'd be cool. Give me like a mini mockumentary about Max Rebo and the Max Rebo band. Sliced noodles.
I was thinking more like he in like his new anger and angst, he becomes like a bounty hunter of some sort, and it's just really funny that Max Rebo just turned into a bounty hunter. That works too.
Yeah, I would take either. But those are our polls for this week. As always, we will return next week with 2 more articles from the Jedi Archives. But Mike, like I said, it's a light news week. It is lighter than most, and this was coming because we had some pretty consistent weeks of news, surprisingly. But this week is pretty dry. So,
indeed.
Do you want to lead with the rumor that's floating around everywhere, or do you want the quick hits of some updates from last week and some new small information about the Star Wars fandom?
Let's go with the quick hits.
Okay. So first up, if this will load, from an interview on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, Alden Ehrenreich once again in the news. He was being reviewed for his new series, Brave New World, on Peacock, and the host of the show was going off with Ehrenreich back and forth, specifically about what we would have interviewed Ehrenreich about is the hashtag, make Solo 2 happen.
So did they bring up the hashtag?
Yeah, so they specifically brought up the fan reaction, the cult following it's garnered since it came out, and if he is influenced by it, if he is open to returning. And I have another quote from Alden Ehrenreich, if you would like me to read it off.
Yeah, for sure.
So, quote, "It doesn't feel new to me. I felt that then, and we were kind of aware going in. There are 2 levels of baggage. One was the publicity of the director change, and the other thing is that when you hear there's going to be a Han Solo movie, I think everybody has a vision of that movie in their head. And so my experience with anything like that is like when you're seeing a movie that's adapted from a book. All you're doing is, that's not what I thought it was going to be. So I think my sense of what happened in it being championed again in whatever way it is that people walked away from it and returned to it as what it is. And the thing I think is the coolest about it is that the people that are in it, it's such a cool cast." And then specifically, later on, they asked him if he would be interested in returning through Disney Plus, not necessarily a full-blown film. And his answer is pretty similar to the answer we got last week about returning to Han in general. Just like if it felt right, if it was the right timing, the right story, natural progression. So nothing crazy new there, but he is open to Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably a given if he said that he was interested in becoming Han Solo again.
Yeah,
I feel like he would do it for any medium.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting to hear him kind of, sort of, his take on the backlash that Solo got initially,
yeah,
and then how a lot of people like us ended up coming around to it, and kind of holding it in some high regard. So I'm happy that he sees that, and I'm happy that he's able to talk about that.
For sure.
And it's good to know that he knows there are people out there who liked his performance.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, and what we were talking about last week, and you bringing up the idea that maybe he was using that question in that interview in whatever outlet it was in last week, but it was like it's a name, it's an outlet with a name, using that platform to sort of ignite the fandom to continue being like, hey, we really want to see a Solo too. So this week, with the follow-up being specifically about that movement, I think it lends more to where you were going with it last week, in terms of just being like, hey, I do see it, I appreciate it, everything you're saying right now. Like, I think you had it right last week.
Yeah, I think it, like you said, what he said this week wasn't very different than what he said last week.
Right.
It's just interesting to hear his take on like how it all went down.
For sure.
I don't think that's something that we got before.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's surprising, but I do think it's just a good thing to hear that another Star Wars actor from the films is open to continuing on Disney Plus, because I'm like pretty sure there was a quote sometime earlier this year where John Boyega was like, "Man, I don't want to be on Disney Plus. Like, don't put me on a Finn Disney Plus show or something like that."
Yeah.
And just, like seeing his experience with it, seeing how he's been able to grow since Solo came out and still be open to returning, similar to some of the other actors like Ewan McGregor. It's a good thing. I like seeing that.
For sure. What podcast was this on? I think that.
It was on Happy, Sad, Confused is the name of the podcast.
Okay. Are you familiar with that at all?
I am not. No.
Me either.
So, that is your update on Solo this week, though, from Solo and Chewie on this here show. Next up, Star Wars Squadrons got an updated page on EA's website.
Yes. Got some more information about how it'll actually play.
Yeah, so you read through this whole thing, right? Like, or you were interested in that because you said that to me.
I did send it to you. I did not read through the entire thing.
Okay, that's fine. Basically, it gives us some information about options, in-universe options, like what ships we have access to. Do you have this pulled up, Mike?
I do have it pulled up.
You want to read through?
It looks very
the arsenal.
It looks very Yeah, I mean, I don't know if actually I have the same thing pulled up. Oh, you're talking about the ships.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh. So yeah, it does remind me of Alphabet Squadron in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got 8 starfighters. You got a T-65B X-wing. You have a BTL A4 Y-wing, which is the bomber.
Mm-hmm.
An A-wing, and a U-wing. Then you got a TIE fighter, a TIE bomber, a TIE interceptor, and a TIE Reaper.
So, yeah.
So, interesting.
Mm-hmm. The TIE Reaper is pretty much the Empire equivalent of the U-wing that was introduced in Rogue One, right?
I'm not really sure. I don't even know what some of the TIEs look like.
Mm-hmm.
The interceptor I do, the fighter, obviously, the bomber, obviously, but the TIE Reaper I don't really. Let me look it up.
Yeah. I do think the TIE Reaper is new.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so the TIE Reaper, listeners, is, if you play Jedi Fallen Order, the ship that the second sister flies in the introduction when you're, like, on the train,
Oh, word.
That is her ship.
That is very cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's new to canon still, relatively, but it's cool to see it brought up again, similar to how the U-Wing is brought up again after Rogue One. Because the U-Wing, I thought was cool. Like, that was one of my favorite little, like, lore additions from Rogue One.
Yeah, no, the U-Wing is super cool, and the TIE Reaper is basically just, like, the Empire's version of the U-Wing.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, no, it's cool to see some diversity in the starships that we get to fly.
Hmm.
But you know, I think there's going to be more customization of it, just like cosmetically, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
Yeah,
Further on the blog post, though, we do get some looks at basically the dashboard of what it's going to look like in the cockpit and what each symbol, what each meter represents for like your shields, your power, your artillery, which we know
yep,
going into this event earlier this summer is a huge focus of this game. They really want to make it as realistic as possible as what it would be to be piloting a Star Wars fighter ship in the cockpit, which is really cool. Just from the visuals, I know it's probably going to take an adjustment in that tutorial. And uh, going back to one of the first things of information we found out about this game, where they were like, hey, if you want to play multiplayer, you have to experience some of the stories so far. Makes sense when you see all these little dials and meters.
yeah. It looks very involved, um, and I assume that the learning curve is probably going to be pretty high, which is good. That, like you said, they're making you play the story mode before
Yeah.
getting shredded online.
Hmm.
So
Definitely. And it seeing more information like this from Squadrons is exciting. I'm excited to see what further info they have to share on the road to launch. Maybe like a little VR trailer or something. Um, but yeah,
true.
I'm.
I mean, you're gonna
Go ahead.
sorry, you're gonna get this for PS. I don't know, PS4, right? PS5.
Yeah, PlayStation VR is spurring me to buy this game. This is an absolute pickup for me, and the fact that it's 40 is so key because if it was 60, I'd still be like, you know what, maybe I'd get it on Black Friday a month later, but because it's 40 and it is entirely playable in VR, hell yeah, dude.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and for those that aren't necessarily fully sold yet, I know you've gone a little back and forth on your excitement level for Squadrons, but
I mean, I'm definitely buying it.
Yeah.
I'm sold on it, but
Mhm.
yeah, in terms of my excitement, I'm kind of going back and forth, like you said.
Sure, yeah, okay. But yeah,
But
40, even if I was going to wait, if it was 60 to pick it up on Black Friday, I'm sure you're going to be able to find it for like 30 or something at a Walmart on Black Friday. I don't know.
true. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think the next step, though, on the road to Squadrons, like you said, is probably showing customization off.
Yeah, probably. I think. I mean, like, when's the next time that you think they'll be able to show it off?
Hmm.
Are there any other events, or do you think they're just gonna like release something on their YouTube channel or something?
So later this week, the day after this episode posts, there's an Xbox event, so maybe I could see them do something there, like a new trailer or something, unless they have a marketing deal with PlayStation, which they might because of PSVR. And at
Yeah,
that
that's
point,
true.
I know in August there's a PS5 event, so maybe they could showcase it again there, be like, hey, this will work on PS5, and you're also going to be able to plug in the PSVR headset you have on the PS5. It's going to work fine, showing it off with this new Star Wars VR experience. So I could see them do it there too, but there's no dedicated EA event coming up. So
Okay, well, interesting. Hopefully, we get some more look at it before it comes out. I'm sure we will.
yeah, I think we will too. Yeah. I'm sure we'll get more blog posts like this in the coming weeks. So
Yeah, definitely.
next up, speaking of blog posts, Star Wars, the official Star Wars website, gave us a look into a new line of Galaxy's Edge merch that is coming to Target.
Oh, what?
Yeah, dude.
Dude, send me this link. Do you have a link?
I will. I'll text it to you right now.
All right.
Interesting that, like, I wonder what brought this on. I wonder if this was always the plan to market Black Spire Outpost type stuff.
I don't know.
Or
I always thought that it was just going to be like, what's the word that I'm looking
like
for?
park
Like
exclusive.
yeah, exclusive to the park. So
Yeah, so like I have to wonder if this was always a plan, or if once they saw the whole COVID situation, they were like, "Hey, maybe, just maybe, we try to market Galaxy's Edge through a new merch line." But now that I think about it, I don't know if it would necessarily be brought on by the pandemic because one, we already saw Baby Yoda merch was having difficulty shipping because of it, and then two, a couple weeks back we learned that ILM is doing a new VR initiative. Remember the Stories from Galaxy's Edge sort of thing?
yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it was always their intent to really just expound on the lore of the theme park.
It's possible. I didn't ever expect this, but it does make sense. You
Mhm.
know, like I just like I don't know. There's Galaxy's Edge, like really, to me, like I feel like we only know it because we're like we follow this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the average consumer, like who's gonna know what that is? Like, is this really gonna like hype things up that much for the park?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah,
It seems like just normal stuff, you know.
right. Yeah, because at least if you have like a Rey action figure, it's like it's Rey. You know Rey. You know.
Right.
I don't know how many people know. Let me get the name. DJR3X. You know.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
So let me run through the teasers they have posted for this merch line, which is officially titled the Trading Outpost Collection.
Word.
First up, we got Funko, of course, because what would any merch line be without Pops?
A bad one.
Yeah. I have two on the shelf behind me, so we know. There's an R5 pop, which is part of the attack on Scarif, I guess, in the lore. That's what this R5 droid is from.
Okay.
Which actually, weird pull, very random. I've had this my entire life. I have it on the desk right now. I'm showing it to the camera. I think this is an R5. I don't know what it is. I'll send you a picture of it after the show, Mike. But like,
Okay.
I have had this for like 15 years, and I don't
Is
know.
it a fun?
No, it's just a little like droid figure.
Oh.
Don't know what it's
What
from.
color?
It's red, and it looks like this R5 pop.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. Does it look? Is it like the same model droid as this?
I mean, it's hard to tell because the Funko Pop is short and stout, you know, and
Yeah, true.
this thing has seen 2 decades almost, so I don't know how accurate.
Seen better days.
Yeah. Anyway, a slight tangent. We also have a Hasbro Millennium Falcon,
Nice.
which,
It's the vintage. It's the vintage collection. You got to make sure you say that.
oh, of course, yeah. So it has the Kenner box, you know, that we've come to see from the new line of vintage Star Wars figures, but
Of course.
it is specifically the Smuggler's Run Millennium Falcon. So it's the one that is there on the outpost. It's the square dish. It's not the circle dish.
Mhm.
We all
Though it looks like the box has a circle dish on it.
Yeah, so I wonder. Oh, so on the box it says Star Wars: A New Hope and Smuggler's Run. So maybe you can just swap the dish out.
Yeah, I just blew up the picture. It says classic radar dish included.
Nice. Yeah, so it looks like there's
Nice.
sound effects and stuff too, and it lights up. So
That's kind of cool.
yeah. Next up, one of the biggest draws of Galaxy's Edge outside of building a lightsaber, I think, is building a droid.
Definitely.
So
Lightsaber's number one though.
yeah, droid is number 2, but
Yeah.
not a full skill droid. But they do have a hyperdrive BB unit. It is red, white, and black. Different controller than the ones from the park, but it probably does the exact same thing. And again, smaller. It looks like.
Nice.
We have the Black Series Captain Cardinal.
I don't know what that is.
I don't either. So I wonder if it's a Sith trooper that just patrols the theme park.
It says it's a first order captain.
Huh. Interesting. Well, yeah, because like you have to think about the lore again. Galaxy's Edge takes place between 8 and 9, I think.
Yeah,
Do we know Sith
I'm looking.
troopers yet? Did they leave? Did a batch of them leave Exegol and just travel to this one point?
I don't know, dude. I'm looking. Oh, it's from the book Phasma.
Interesting. Huh.
Interesting. There's a very extensive Wikipedia article about a character named Archex,
Okay.
who is Captain Cardinal.
Okay. And that was
Very interesting.
so that was in the Phasma novel.
It seems to be that way. Yeah, I don't know this character at all. This is like brand new
Interesting.
to me.
Yeah. So I wonder what Captain Cardinal's deal is. I wonder if they were like training with Phasma, and then when the Emperor was like, "Hey, the dead speak," it's like, "Oh, I gotta go serve my real master." Like, I don't know what that story is. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he's wearing red. I think it seems as though that he was created before the Sith Troopers were, though.
Oh, okay.
Like if because of the book Phasma, obviously.
Right.
Like, and I'm sure it described him with like red armor and stuff, and like now it just messes up all the continuity.
Hmm. Well, the more I look at it, the helmet doesn't really look like a Sith Trooper helmet, based on my Battlefront experience, which has been a lot lately.
Yeah.
So
It says he's a stormtrooper.
okay.
So,
Wikipedia is the Godspeak, so we'll take it.
exactly.
Next up, the one I shouted out earlier, DJ R3X, also known as Rex. He's the animatronic droid that works in the cantina. I've seen like Instagram stories of this guy. Seems cool, you know.
Same. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
I won't buy it, but
Same. And lastly, we have a Resistance ITS transport. Looks like the Resistance version of the transport from A New Hope.
yes, it does.
So,
Cool.
yeah. Interesting initiative. I wonder how far this goes. I wonder if we get a second wave of this or what. Because I know Galaxy's Edge has some exclusive stuff of like the little. They look handmade dolls of like famous Star Wars characters. Similar to like Rey's little rebel fighter pilot in her AT-AT.
Right.
And they have all like their drinkware coasters, obviously the lightsabers. So
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're going to see any more come out of this. I assume we will.
yeah,
But they're gonna make sure they keep the good stuff for the real part.
yeah, definitely. So next up, why don't we tackle this rumor? All right.
Let's do it.
So I think we mentioned this offhand a couple weeks back because we were like, oh, there's a website that's saying this thing. It's like we heard this from our source. It's like, okay, I haven't heard of you before.
It's managed to stay around. Though.
Yeah.
The rumor mill has been churning, and this one hasn't gone away.
Yes. So the rumor we're talking about, of course, is that Hayden Christensen is returning to play Anakin Skywalker in the Kenobi series. That is coming from, I believe, Latino Review Media, the website that has been sourced on all the other write-ups that I saw today. And then Mike sent me an article from We Got This Covered, who spotty track record, but apparently they predicted that Kingdom Hearts TV series coming to Disney Plus that other actual Disney insiders verified, so I'll hear him out on this one. They're also saying that in addition to Hayden Christensen being cast in Kenobi to play Anakin, Natalie Portman has also been cast to play Amidala.
That's interesting.
Yes. So where do you want to start here?
Yeah. Well, I don't think we've really ever talked about Hayden Christensen, so we can talk about. I guess we could just talk about both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's good to preface this conversation by stressing that these are rumors.
Yeah.
No, they're not. We don't know if they're accurate or not. They very well could be, but they very well could not be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how this would work, man. like I was trying to think about it. Like, is it just like gonna be a bunch of flashbacks? Like, because the way that the timeline is, like, you can't have like Natalie, you can't have Padme and Anakin like showing up on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. So like, if they're gonna have like decent roles in this, then like there's gonna be a lot of flashbacks, I guess.
Yeah, so I wonder if it's going to be flashbacks or if it's going to be like dreams or like visions of like what could have been or something. You know?
Oh,
Like I could
yeah,
see a world where like maybe Obi-Wan is haunted by dreams, you know, because he's watching over Luke. That is his life for what, 17 years.
yeah.
I wonder if he's haunted by visions of like I failed Anakin, I should have seen this coming, and he just sees in his head like when he's sleeping, uh, Anakin, Padme, Luke, and Leia just happily being a family together. You know, maybe something to that effect.
That is so interesting. I want that so bad.
Same, because if we're diving into like the psyche of Obi-Wan Kenobi, like,
Which is what I wanted the whole time.
mhm, like exploring that relationship with Anakin, I feel like is super integral, and we don't talk about it that much, you know, because Clone Wars fleshed out so much for us, but post Episode 3, we really don't get to see much of Obi-Wan mourning the loss of Anakin, you know?
Definitely, definitely. I think like not only do we not see Obi-Wan mourning the death of Anakin, we don't see him like reflect really on like any of it. Like basically like he drops Luke off at Tatooine,
Yep.
and then like we see him 20 years later, and he's like an old man. Then he dies.
Yeah.
Like I want to know like the internal like turmoil he goes through. Like you said, you must feel responsible.
Yeah.
Like he must feel responsible for all of it, and like reading like Master and Apprentice, and like kind of already being in Obi-Wan as a character's like psyche.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it must be really interesting to have like to go through your entire life being so devoted to this cause, and then have it all just crumble underneath you, and it like have it's partially your fault, like
Yeah.
and like now you have to reckon with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like now you have to reckon with the fact that like you realize that what you thought was like so high and mighty was like just fractured, and you couldn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's so amazing, and I want to see that.
Yeah. And I feel like if he is being cast, if Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman are both returning, that like has to be the direction they take it. I would assume, you know, like maybe we get a cool flashback to a Clone Wars era thing, and we get to see all of them in their Clone Wars outfits, you know, from the series. That could be really fun.
Yeah, I almost don't want to see that though.
Yeah, I think it might be a neat way to sort of weave in the Clone Wars into like the live action side, you know, even if it's just like a conference room or something, or like not an action set piece, you know, but
Yeah, maybe. I mean, whatever. Honestly, I like you said. I think that's the only way. I mean, I think it's the only way that they could do it. Like,
mhm.
that has to be where they're going with it.
Yeah, you would assume, right? Because I remember when we like first started doing Jedi Knights, I think there was also a rumor going around that Hayden Christensen was being circled to return for a Darth Vader series, and it was like, why? You know, like
Right.
he wouldn't be acting. You get James Earl Jones to do the dialogue again, and he's just in the suit, standing on set. Like, okay, which you could argue similar thing with Mando, but with Mando, it's still Pedro Pascal's voice. He's the draw to that character, you know, not the stuntmen that were on set.
Right. Right.
So it's like the reverse if you have Hayden Christensen return to be Darth Vader. Like it's a weird thing, you know.
It's definitely a weird thing, but I think it makes more sense in this context.
Yeah.
Like I could see it happening better than I could have, you know.
Definitely. And I guess, like, is this something you'd want to see? Like, would you want to see Hayden Christensen come back to play Anakin again?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I feel like I feel like it should have happened in the Rise of Skywalker, honestly.
Yeah.
And I want to see him return to the role.
Hmm.
But also, I just think it would be good for Obi-Wan's character.
Yeah.
Like I just think it makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't seem cheesy at all. Like if Obi-Wan's like, in his sleep having like nightmares about this, or like has like crippling visions, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's do it.
I
Like imagine if this is just me kind of spitballing here, but imagine if Obi-Wan Kenobi had some sort of like narcolepsy in this series, where like he just has like these crazy force visions, like just like unprovoked, like at any moment.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
because I wonder. We saw this in Master and Apprentice, at least discussed, like visions of the future through the Force. Like I wonder if he gives into that in some way, or if we like deal with the alternate realities through the dreams, or like the Force visions, or if the Force vision of the future would be like trying to see something of Anakin returning. Like I wonder how deep it goes. Personally, I do think him being haunted by what could have been is the most interesting.
Yeah.
And I would honestly kind of prefer dealing with the legacy of Anakin and his Obi-Wan's failure of Anakin through Hayden Christensen than having a scene with like running into Luke at Tashi Station or something and just having a look on his face, like, oh no, what, I failed you, Anakin. Like,
Yeah.
so
No, I definitely. I think it has a lot of cool potential, and the way that how do you think Natalie Portman kind of like fits into all this?
So, I think it would probably be a similar way, you know? Maybe depending on what story we tell in the series of Kenobi. Like, I could see maybe a flashback to Padme's final moments. Like, maybe there was, like, some information she said to Obi-Wan that we didn't touch on in the film. That's like, oh, here's this important information about something, and that is, like, tied to whatever Obi-Wan's not quest, but like the point of this series, if we're taking that approach, not just like a mini series about Obi-Wan being a sad old man,
Right.
But I would assume it's probably, in my vision of what's gonna happen, the same thing as Hayden, like being haunted by her and like failing her.
Definitely, and maybe some flashbacks to Anakin and Padme together with Obi-Wan. It's a possibility.
Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there a Darth Vader comic where Padme returned? Like that was a fake out or something? Like they was like, I think you sent it to me. It was a panel of Vader looking at a woman and he said Padme, and that was the end of the comic.
Yeah, because what happens is in that comic, Vader actually finds Sabe,
Okay.
who he mistakes as Padme because they look so much alike.
So, do you think there's a world where she comes in playing that character instead of Keira Knightley? I think
You just gotta get Keira Knightley back, man. Why would you?
I don't know what her relationship is with Disney right now, though, because she did some Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and that was the last thing I think she did with them.
True. I mean, honestly, I don't. She's not really that relevant anymore.
I don't know the last like role she had. I haven't been following her since like at World's End. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, no, I think she would just be Padme. I don't think she'd be.
yeah. So, either way, I think that's an interesting way to tell Obi-Wan's story. I think you and I are mostly on the same page where I would be cool if this wasn't an action-filled series.
No, I want it to be like a drama.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to see some action.
Yeah. Honestly, we touch on this once in a while of like what we want out of the series, right?
Yeah, every once in a while.
I could see a really compelling Obi-Wan story where like it's dealing with the trauma of losing Anakin and Padme and failing the Skywalkers, and
the Jedi.
yes, and at the same time maybe pull in like a samurai story, like a samurai film of like this village in Tatooine needs a savior, and Obi-Wan's like, okay, I will do this. And then it's like maybe just him in the wilderness really being introspective and hunting down this mark or something as a Jedi to like save this village out of guilt or something for failing Anakin.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds awesome. And I do feel like that more likely than not, this is going to be samurai related.
That,
Like it's gonna feel like it's like a samurai movie.
mhm. Yeah. So been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, that samurai game for PlayStation, and we always know Star Wars has some influence from Kurosawa and stuff, but like, man, if we got a full-blown Obi-Wan as a samurai, oh,
I feel like it would make the most sense though. You know,
Yeah.
it's about him. He's kind of alone. He's like the last of his religion.
mhm. He's a Ronin. The Jedi version of a Ronin, what is that? Is that what Ahsoka is? Is that Fulcrum?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Any final thoughts before we dive into the Rebels recap?
Just that I really want to see Anakin Skywalker and honestly Padme too in this.
Yeah. Would be great.
That's it.
Well, here we are. July 21st, recording this. We have finished Season 1 of Star Wars Rebels, the sequel to the acclaimed Star Wars The Clone Wars.
If you can call it a sequel, I guess it is. Yeah.
It's the follow-up, you know.
Yeah.
It's the next
Yeah.
series from Filoni. There's some carryover.
Sure. Yeah, it's a sequel. Why not?
So 15 episodes in Season 1. Mike, you have seen this show before we began this rewatch, right?
I have. Yes.
Okay. This is my first time watching Rebels outside of the premiere, because I did watch the series premiere when it was like free on Hulu or something one time, but
Okay.
this is my first time seeing the first season fully, and I want to ask you, returning to Rebels after watching Clone Wars, what was your biggest takeaway? Was there a huge difference in your mind from the first time you watched season 1? Where are you at?
I realized that watching the Clone Wars has completely changed my opinion of Rebels.
Okay.
In a negative way.
Interesting.
At least through the first season
Mhm.
of Rebels. Number one, I think that the art style was bold, but bad.
Okay.
And I don't think it has the same depth as the Clone Wars.
Yeah. So, like, obviously, we grew with Clone Wars, right? Because season 1 Clone Wars was not what you think of when you think of how great Clone Wars is, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, I'm glad that you point out, at least with season 1 of Rebels, that's how you're feeling right now. And I guess from my side of it, like, I prefer where we got to visually with Clone Wars over the Rebels art style. I don't think it looks bad. It's definitely different. I know they.
No, I don't think it's bad.
Okay.
I'll take that back.
Okay.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's not as good.
I know they go for the, like, they want to evoke the Ralph McQuarrie concept art for the originals, right? That's why they chose this direction.
Yes.
So that's cool. I like that. And it works, you know, in universe, it being the same continuity of Clone Wars is definitely, it's like a choice, you know, they made a choice there.
Yeah.
So, I do like how the Stormtroopers look, though, honestly.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I like how the Stormtroopers look. I like how all the Empire stuff looks.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like how the lightsabers look. I know that that's people's biggest gripe about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the lightsabers actually look pretty cool when they're long and skinny like that.
I do, too. I think they have, like, more of a travel, you know? Like, I feel like they leave more of a streak behind in this show than they do in Clone Wars, which visually I think is kind of cool. You know, like in a lot of combat scenes, you see really like a full fan when there's a motion of the lightsaber.
Yeah, that's true.
So it makes it a bit more flashy, which I appreciate. Even though there's not many lightsaber fights in season 1, when they do hit, I do like how it comes together.
Yeah, they when they hit like there's that that like green flash.
Yeah.
That's a very like original trilogy.
Mm-hmm. So, um,
But what do you think about it overall, Christian?
so I liked it. I do know that there are people that say it is vastly inferior. I didn't think it was like a significant dip. Um, and I was kind of surprised based on, again, what I've heard. I was surprised at how much of a through line there actually was, at least
Yeah.
thematically and like overall plot. And they do call back to events that happened earlier in the season, towards the end of the season. So Clone Wars, I don't think really ever did that. They did their arc type storytelling. You know, it's like, okay, these 3 episodes tell a story, these 4 episodes tell a story. This is very much job of the week, but there is still an overarching narrative that's being built on and referenced constantly as we go on. And
Yeah.
I am very surprised that that's here, because from everything I've heard, it sounded like that was non-existent, and that was one of my favorite things about Clone Wars. But in terms of the like ground level story of each episode, like I'm a big fan of Firefly, and even more of a fan of Cowboy Bebop, which are a space crew, rebels, space cowboys, pulling jobs, running heists. So I automatically love that type of dynamic. So seeing it in Rebels, I enjoyed.
So it's the perfect deal for you then.
Yeah, it's like it's feel good. It's very cozy, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I would say feel good's definitely true. I do see where you're coming from. That there's more of a through line to it,
Mhm.
and I think that it's not really spoiling anything, but that definitely stays true throughout the series.
Okay.
Like it doesn't really go into arcs that much. Like
Mhm.
it kind of deals more with like the part 1, part 2 sort of thing
Mhm.
that happens. I think once in this, right?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
there's like a kind of
yeah. The premiere was 2 parts, so
right. Also like the ending kind of all like comes
yeah.
together as well.
So.
But yeah, no, it's interesting.
Mhm. Another thing I was also expecting, based on things I've heard again, I was expecting it to be very kiddie. I don't think it's any more kiddie than like some of the mid seasons of Clone Wars so far.
I think it's a lot more geared towards children. It gets more that way.
Okay. Yeah, geared towards children I can see, but I feel like at least the thematic elements, they feel consistent in a way. Like,
Yeah,
I think starting with Ezra, who is in the Ahsoka position of this show, he's not as I'm the kid character perspective as Ahsoka was at the beginning, I thought.
no, definitely not. I was gonna actually because I was gonna ask you about the characters. Like, what do you make of Ezra? Like, how do you like him?
Yeah, I think I honestly, like, straight up, I thought I was going to hate that kid going in. I was like, okay, kid Jedi, let's see what he has to say. But I think he's fine. He reminds me of Aladdin. So, like, Aladdin as a Jedi, it's like, hey, sick, cool.
Yeah, he is kind of like Aladdin. No, he's definitely in that Ahsoka sort of role, but definitely different than Ahsoka in terms of like I don't know, like it's kind of cool to see him go from like being just like a street rat essentially
Yeah.
to like being a Jedi.
Hmm.
uh, and I always like that kind of aspect of Star Wars where they kind of just like pluck a nobody from like somewhere
Yeah,
and then just like make them go on this like huge adventure and they're like bigger, they're destined for something bigger than they are, and it's definitely Ezra Bridger.
for sure.
I think that he has moments of being really annoying though.
Yeah, there was nothing major for me. Like, one of the.
I think he's much more annoying than Ahsoka ever was.
Sure. I mean, I was never super annoyed by Ahsoka to begin with when we did our watch along.
Yeah.
And as far as Ezra goes, like, yeah, he's got like the teenage boy stupidity at times, you know. But like, it never felt overbearing for me. Like, I think my least favorite episode out of the season was the one where they infiltrate the Empire Academy.
That was your least favorite, you said?
I think so, yeah. Because, like,
Yeah.
it reminded me a lot. I think, honestly, it's just because it reminded me a lot of that episode of Clone Wars where it was, like, the Boba Fett show, and he was, like, the clone trainee. I was like, oh my god, I do not like this type of story.
Enough of that.
Is there a standout for you of, like, something that just didn't work?
A standout for me is something that didn't work, you said?
Yeah, as, like, an episode or a character arc or something.
I don't really like... oh man, what's that guy's name? It's the one that they find like hiding, and that he's like wanted by the Empire, and they like take him. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I forget his name.
I did not like any of that.
Yeah.
And I never really did.
Mhm.
One thing I did really like is the episode. All right, actually, I don't know if we want to get into things that we did really like, but.
We can, yeah. Because I didn't really have much negativity from season 1. Like, I went in, I think, with incredibly low expectations after Clone Wars, and then hearing the negativity I've seen. And to be fair, I've read a lot of opinions from people. It's like, oh, there's just some people that are so far into Clone Wars that they don't even like look at Rebels, and maybe that was some of the real strong negativity that I've heard about the show. So I was pleasantly surprised this whole time.
It's honestly you just gotta accept that it's different than the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I just dislike it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it less than the Clone Wars.
Okay.
But the 2 episodes in this season that I liked the most were hold on, I'm like reading. I'm reading them because I just forget which ones that they are. But hold on.
I'll say this too. I like the dynamic of the crew a lot, and I think that kind of carries the show. Like, I do think Ezra is a good character to have in this position, but like Kanan, Hera, Sabine, Zeb, Chopper, like the whole gang, I really like their back and forth. Kanan, obviously, I'm a fan of Freddie Prinze Jr. He's very active in Star Wars, the community online, kind of like how Sam Witwer is.
Yep.
So seeing him as Kanan and Kanan's sort of internal struggle with like his own training and the whole pass on what you've learned, and some of his lines too, I appreciated in terms of like the legacy of the Jedi and like what it means for him to be a Jedi in this time period. Especially when he was like beginning to train Ezra at the early episodes.
Right.
And he had the do it or not, there's no try. He's like, I don't know what it means. Yoda just said it a lot. Like stuff like that I thought was fun and charming, but
Yeah.
just considering how big of a fan Freddie Prinze Jr. is.
Yeah, well, I think I like Kanan. I think Kanan's like one of the best characters in this show.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just like set up really cool.
Yeah.
I like how he kind of like has to come around to the fact that he's like a former Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Like he kind of doesn't accept it at first, which is interesting because he has to because of Ezra. And everything.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, the 2 things that I wanted to bring up earlier, that one episode where they go to the Jedi Temple on Lothal.
Mm-hmm.
Great episode.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Seems as though that is the only one written by Dave Filoni.
Really?
Or directed by Dave Filoni.
I think.
Oh, the last one was too.
Yeah. Because I remembered I saw his name somewhere else, but yeah, that was a good one. I liked that one. That was very interesting to explore that. And honestly, I really did not expect that from at least season 1. You know.
No, I think it was good. It was good character development on both Ezra and Kanan's part.
Yeah.
They both have like that commune with Yoda.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I really like the one where they meet Ball Travis, but he's just a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Travis or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great one.
Yeah, I also liked the the first one of the episodes where it was like Ezra and Zeb had to go do a mission together.
Okay.
Like it was in the first, because we did that twice, but the one I'm thinking of is when they go for the melon, right? And like they steal the TIE fighter. I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
because I think. Wait, no, I'm thinking of something else. The other episode that stood out to me from the early ones is the one where they steal the like gun things, the prototype arm cannons that killed his people.
Yeah, and he kind of like goes a little nuts over it a little bit.
Yeah, and he like, because that was again some character depth that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah,
So.
from Garazeb or whatever the hell his name is.
Mm-hmm. So
Zeb.
yeah, so
Oh, Garazeb Aurelios. Yeah,
nice.
right.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm with you on those picks. Those are two that I wanted to shout out, and the finale, dude. What do you think of the
Yeah.
finale?
Finale's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Rebels does really good with its like mid-season finales and like openings and finales and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they just get better from here, man.
That's good to hear because I really liked the finale and the tease at the end. It's a cool setup.
It is a cool setup. What did you think about Ahsoka Tano being Fulcrum?
I knew that.
I think I may have spoiled that for you.
No, I knew that beforehand. I knew she was in the show. I knew she worked with the crew at some point.
Right.
And I think when the episode came out and I was like following Star Wars blogs back in the day, it was like, oh, turns out Fulcrum's Ahsoka Tano. It's like, oh yeah, that she was in that Clone Wars movie I saw. So yeah, it didn't surprise me, but I'm excited to see her have a bigger role in season 2. And from the looks of it, same thing with Darth Vader.
Definitely. And I actually wanted to bring up one thing. What did you make of the Grand Inquisitor? What did you think about him as a villain?
So I thought it was like average. You know, like I thought out of all
Exactly.
the new Star Wars villains, if you want to put him into that category, as like the ones from Fallen Order or the ones introduced in Battlefront or any of the Disney era content, like I had higher expectations for him, I think, and that might just be because of the marketing for Rebels in the lead up to season 1, because I remember his face being everywhere when it was like 2014, Rebels is about to come out, and like he didn't do much.
No, he really didn't.
Yeah. So do
Yeah,
you like him?
I don't.
Or?
Not really. I don't think he's very compelling whatsoever. He's just kind of like a bad guy.
Yeah.
And they don't really like they don't really set up the Inquisitors as they like end up doing, which kind of like takes his coolness away.
So you don't have to answer this if you think it's a spoiler, but do we touch on Inquisitors more throughout Rebels, or is the next time to your memory Fallen Order? Because I thought the second sister was really interesting, the ninth sister to a lesser extent, but just the role of that group as Inquisitors in Fallen Order. Like, we eventually got somewhere interesting, but...
Right. No, we see more Inquisitors.
Okay, good to know. There's one other thing I was going to say about the Inquisitor, I think. Oh, I really did like, I had high hopes, especially on the way the Inquisitor is introduced, because there's that episode where they infiltrate the prison, which I really liked. I really liked that one a lot. And they're going to save Luminara, and it turns out it's just a fake, and she's dead.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, because like especially after just watching Clone Wars and learning way more about Luminara, and then like not realizing that she actually was dead, and then seeing that it was just a trick from this Inquisitor, it's like, okay, you're using dirty tactics, and then he just kind of fizzles out.
Dark magic.
Yeah, it's cool.
Secrets only the Sith knew.
Yeah.
Guy from Lost, who's also in episode 9,
Yep.
whatever his name is.
Yeah. The Hobbit, right?
I don't know.
I think he's the Hobbit.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, enjoyed it. Excited for season 2. Question for you: do you have what's your expectations after rewatching season 1 going into season 2 as somebody who's revisiting the show?
I'm actually kind of like, in a way, not looking forward to watching it because I feel like I'm gonna like it less.
Okay.
But I know that season 2 is longer, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 22 episodes.
Which is, interesting, but more of an opportunity for filler. And I know that Star Wars Rebels has a lot of filler. So
Okay.
should be good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the extent of Ahsoka and Vader's roles. And of course, just like seeing the group continue to grow as a unit. But we will see what happens in the next, how many episodes? I'm checking right now. I'm on Plus. 22 episodes.
22. Yeah.
And I think for listeners following along, we are looking to do our next Rebels review for season 2 on the episode that will release on August 19th. So you got about a month, a little under a month, to watch season 2 and follow along with us.
We're doing it a little bit differently than the Clone Wars,
Mhm.
but I think this works better.
I think it does too, because even if there is still a narrative through line, it's extended over a much longer batch of episodes than Clone Wars was, so giving it the time to breathe and like fully digest the full season, if that's the way they're telling the story, I think this is the way to go about it.
Definitely.
So, any final words on season 1?
No.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's it
Nice.
for me.
So, that's going to do it for episode 41 of Jedi Knights. Mike, is there anything you'd like to shout out?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors.
Very nice. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Chris and Buckley. This show, if you want to keep up with our tweets and little polls or something on Twitter, at Jedi Knights JC. We are also available on YouTube. YouTube.com/JoeyClicks is where you are if you are watching us. If you saw me hold up my maybe R5 figure. So if you do watch the video version of the show, give me a like, sharing it around, commenting on the episode content. Jack's been great about it, giving his opinions, giving his rankings of things.
Thank you, Jack.
Of course. #1 fan of the show, Jack Martin.
My man.
And this show is also available in audio format on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a variety of other platforms of your choice. If you can rate or review the show on those platforms, it would be greatly appreciated. And you're earning credits in my book if you do that.
Definitely. In my book as well.
Well, there you go. You got 2 people in your corner, Don't got to worry about messing up our turf, We're no Jabba the Hutt. Not going to kick out a musician.
Chewie and Han Solo in your corner.
Yeah. Max Rebo. Seek asylum in Jedi Knights. We got you.
That's right.
But that is going to do it. Oh, we also have Patreon. So the show is going to be implementing Patreon access, early access in the future. So you can check that out for more information if you want to. But that is all the housekeeping. Good episode. Thank you for listening if you did. Mike, it's been a pleasure as always.
As always, we'll be back next week with some more Star Wars to talk about. May the Force be with you.
General Kenobi.